The day before, my younger sister had threatened to die rather than marry Calvin, the adopted son, and inherit the family meat processing plant. The next day, she greeted him with a beaming smile, declaring that she would marry no one but him. I knew she had also been reborn. In the previous life, our parents had wanted my sister to marry Calvin and take over the business, but my sister was infatuated with my writer boyfriend, Alex, whom I had met while studying abroad, and insisted on marriage freedom and true love, opposing arranged marriages. She even drugged both Calvin and me, putting us in a bed together, hoping to catch us in the act. Not only did I lose my reputation, but I was also abandoned by Alex, who despised me. Meanwhile, my sister seized the opportunity to win Alex's favor. They returned to the city, indulging in a life of luxury and romance. I was left to run the meat processing plant with Calvin, and the business flourished. It wasn't until my sister and Alex finally squandered all the money that Alex became addicted to gambling. He was beaten into a cripple and had to rely on others for care. My sister immediately abandoned him and ran back home, demanding that I return Calvin to her, even conspiring with our parents to trap me. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day of the engagement, seeing my sister happily preparing for her marriage to Calvin. I tightly gripped the acceptance letter to the National Defense University in my hand. Chapter 1. Ophelia, this is your admission letter. You report in 2 weeks, so take good care of it. You finally come through after all the hardships. We've all seen how much you've suffered these years. Thanks to your hard work, Principal Song personally selected you for special admission. I took the thin piece of paper from the village head, my fingers trembling slightly. The words National Defense University were written clearly and strongly in calligraphy. Thank you, village head. This was the opportunity one missed in my previous life, and I would not let it slip away this time. I carefully tucked the letter into a cloth bag and began walking slowly toward home. As I pushed open the door, the sound of laughter and the smell of meat wafted out. When my mother saw me, she rolled her eyes, put down her chopsticks, and immediately started lecturing, "You lazy girl. Where have you been all morning? Off hiding to enjoy yourself. Luciana and Calvin are about to get married. As the older sister, you should stay at home and help out. You're still not eating afterward. Clean up the dishes." I looked at the table, where the leftover bones were stacked, and the 2 remaining stalks of vegetables in the dish. I forced a smile and replied with indifference. Sitting next to Calvin, the adopted son, was my younger sister, Luciana, who only yesterday had been throwing a tantrum against an arranged marriage. Now she was sitting closely with him, looking affectionate. Recently my father had wanted Luciana to marry Calvin and inherit the meat processing plant. But Luciana had always treated Calvin like a servant, and she had her eyes set on my writer boyfriend, Alex, whom I met while studying abroad. She cried, threw tantrums, and even threatened to hang herself, refusing to marry Calvin. My mother was both angry and worried, trying to convince her for days, but couldn't even bring herself to scold her. To everyone's surprise, early this morning, Luciana opened the door, acting like a completely different person. She smiled at Calvin, declaring that she would marry no one but him, and urgently asked my mother when the wedding would be. My parents were thrilled, thinking that Luciana had finally realized the benefits of marrying Calvin and inheriting the business. They immediately arranged the engagement and set up a feast to celebrate. Calvin, as usual, was quiet and reserved, but there was a clear joy in his eyes. Luciana clung to his arm, smugly glancing at me. "Now that I'm engaged to Calvin, the meat plant has nothing to do with you anymore. You won't need to worry about it," she said proudly. I had no objections. "All right. I won't go. From tomorrow onward." Luciana thought that with the meat plant, she could just slide back and rake in the profits, eagerly wanting me to sever ties with it. She had no idea the cost of running the meat plant. In my previous life, Calvin always believed I had drugged him and tried to take the inheritance from Luciana. After marriage, he continued to secretly give Luciana money, and he was cold and indifferent toward me, offering no help. As a woman facing such a large business, the pressure was unimaginable. To gain the trust of the old employees, I worked tirelessly, almost living at the factory from top to bottom. I handled everything, often getting drunk to the point of near alcohol poisoning, just to keep the business running. It took me 3 years to finally establish myself in the company. Luciana had been spoiled by her parents since she was a child, unable to endure hardship or even imagine how tough it would be. Luciana hurriedly urged us to arrange the wedding, picking a good date 3 days from now. The wedding was lively and bustling, with my father even arranging a brand new car to transport them. Luciana stepped out of the car in her white fluffy gown, drawing the gaze of many villagers. Everyone knew they were about to inherit the meat plant, and the guests at the banquet were eager to be on good terms with them. I was running errands for my parents, helping in the kitchen one moment, and greeting guests the next. Luciana walked over to me, disdainfully, eyeing the rough cloth shirt I was wearing, and smiled smugly. Ophelia, the meat plant, and Calvin are both mine. Now, this time, you'll have to marry a loser and eat crumbs. Chapter 2. I tilted my head and feigned confusion. Are you talking about Alex? He's an author who studied abroad. How could he possibly be a bad match? Luciana's eyes flickered for a moment. Then she arrogantly lifted her chin. So what if he reads a lot? Can that put food on the table? Only you would like someone like him. By the way, I'm already getting married. So as the older sister, you'd better hurry up too. You can't just stay home, eating and drinking for free forever after all. The meat plant will soon be mine with that. She strutted off to accept more compliments from others. The next day my parents called me into the main hall, where Luciana and Calvin were already sitting. Alex, who I hadn't seen in days, had also appeared. He was dressed in a sharp suit, his hair neatly combed back, and he wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, looking every bit the refined gentleman. My parents chatted with him, laughing from ear to ear. When they saw me, they quickly waved me over. Ophelia, why are you just standing there? Come here. Today we're finalizing your marriage to Alex. So don't try to make excuses. Luciana hypocritically added, yes. Sister, you're getting old. You can't be the last one to get married after me. You should marry someone like Alex right away. Alex, flattered by the praise, proudly adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. Ophelia, I understand your feelings now, and I agree to this marriage. But there are a few conditions. First, our minds are on different levels. I've received elite education, while your experience is limited. So, after we're married, you'll need to follow my arrangements for everything at home. Second, your education is too low, and your background is humble. You can't compare to the wealthy wives of high society. After marriage, your role will be to stay home, support your husband, and raise children. My parents immediately answered for me, grinning so widely their faces seemed about to crack. Of course, that's no problem. A woman's role is to establish rules. It's only right. Just like that, they settled my marriage, as if they were simply informing me of the decision. 5 pairs of eyes stared at me, and after their discussion was over, it was finally my turn to express my opinion. I chewed on their words, remembering Alex's countless female admirers, and I couldn't help but feel amused. All right, you can arrange it however you like. I had only 3 days before I had to report to university, so I decided to go along with them and avoid causing trouble. My parents were overjoyed, and Alex wore a smug look of control. I knew you'd agree. You have no talent or virtue, and all you've got is your face only. I would marry you. Satisfied, he finally left. Our wedding wasn't rushed. Just the negotiations for the dowry and bridal gifts took several rounds of back and forth. When my parents came home, they immediately started yelling, complaining that Alex's family demanded too much in dowry and offered too little in. After all this, how much money are we actually getting? It's all going to you. You ungrateful girl. Don't think that just because you're marrying a scholar, you'll be flying high. You'll have to repay us tenfold for all this money after you're married. My mother scolded me while poking my forehead, her face full of resentment. Luciana, lying on the bed, ate grapes from a bowl, curling her lip. Once a girl gets married, she's like water thrown out. Mom, I think we should demand more dowry. Otherwise, what if we get cheated? Meanwhile, Alex kept showing up at our house every day, his face dark with anger. Get this straight. There are plenty of women who want to marry me. If this marriage falls through, don't come crying to me. I feigned difficulty and shrugged. Marriage is something my parents decide. They want it this way and I can't help it. He stormed off, furious. The reason he didn't mention calling off the wedding was, of course, not because of his love for me. It was because in this life, he and Luciana were still together. In the eyes of the so-called advanced thinker and intellectual who had studied abroad, the controversial relationship between a brother-in-law and a sister-in-law was nothing more than a romantic adventure. Perhaps even a necessary source of inspiration for his writing. I didn't want to get involved with their affair. But I didn't expect their shamelessness to surpass my imagination. The next day in the middle of the day, my parents dragged me to a small grove near the village. There in front of several of the village's relatives stood Alex and Luciana. Disheveled one had a sour expression. The other was crying pitifully. I raised an eyebrow looking at the sun overhead. These two really had no sense of time or place when it came to their desires. To my surprise, as soon as Luciana saw me, she rushed over and grabbed me. Sister, it's clearly you who's afraid Alex will regret the marriage because of your low education. And you wanted to trap him by getting caught in bed with him. I was just trying to help you. But how could you deliberately knock me unconscious and ruin things between me and Alex? As soon as Alex heard Luciana shift the blame onto her, he immediately sided with her. Ophelia, you are really disappointing to me. The villagers, who had been gossiping and pointing at them, immediately turned their attention to me. Chapter 3. A young woman who isn't married, no matter how desperate she is to get married, shouldn't just throw herself at a man for him to sleep with. Exactly. And then she slanders her own sister, trying to ruin her sister's marriage so she can inherit the meat plant. What a shameless and vicious person. I noticed the smug look in Luciana's eyes and kept my face cold. Everyone should speak with evidence. I've been at home all day, and I just came here. As soon as I finished speaking, my mother slapped me across the face. You little brat. Don't lie. When your father and I went to look for you, you had just returned home and were sneaking around changing clothes, so you were doing something shameful like this. And now you want to pin it on your sister. She grabbed a chunk of my flesh and whispered threateningly, Luciana's reputation cannot be ruined. If it's discovered, she'll be in big trouble anyway. You're going to marry Alex, so just admit it. They can't do anything to you. After that, she began crying loudly, tears and snot running down her face as she tried to persuade me after doing something so foolish. Where do you think I'm going to put my face? In front of everyone. Calvin, supporting Luciana, who was crying uncontrollably, looked at me with murderous intent. If it weren't for the crowd, I wouldn't doubt that he would have charged at me, though he usually appeared quiet. His violent and sinister nature was well known to a select few. Ophelia, you want to mess around with men? Go ahead and die. But why drag Luciana into it? She'll soon be my wife. Whoever dares to hurt her, I'll kill them. Some children who were watching started throwing stones at me, laughing and clapping. Whore is getting hit. Whore. The villagers didn't intervene. In fact, some even suggested I should be thrown into the pigsty to keep the reputation of the other girls in the village intact. I didn't want to confront so many people directly, so I gritted my teeth and endured the pain. As I ran back home, planning to pack my things and leave early, but I couldn't find my acceptance letter, which I had hidden in the lining of my clothes. Sister, are you looking for this? I turned around to see Luciana, who had just been pitifully crying, now holding my acceptance letter, with a malicious look on her face. My heart sank. Give it back. I'll give you whatever you want. I want you to kneel in front of me and stay beneath my feet forever. You were born to be my foil. Why should your past life have been better than mine? Why should you be able to attend a prestigious university? I'll tell you this. Forget about it. I lunged to snatch the letter from her, but Luciana tore it into pieces before I could reach her. Seeing the pale look on my face, Luciana grinned and kicked me, then leaned down to pinch my face, whispering in my ear, Sister, I know you've been reincarnated, but so what? Mom and Dad don't love you. Calvin doesn't love you. Even Alex, that scum, he's someone I've already used. You just obediently listen to me and be my dog. I looked at my parents standing behind her, locking the door ready to stop me from running out, and tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. You'll regret this. Luciana laughed loudly. Regret? Look at you now. What do you have that could make me regret it? Do you believe me? If I kill you now, no one will say a word for you. After all, it was you, your sister, who ruined my reputation. I was just upset and accidentally did it. As she said this, she even pretended to shed a few tears. My parents rushed forward immediately, comforting Luciana, like she was their precious little jewel, while shooting me deadly glares. You're not worth it for such a heartless, ungrateful girl. And you still want to go to university. Where are we supposed to get the money to send you? Who knows if you got into that university through some shameful means. What a disgrace. Now that this has happened, if Alex's family refuses to pay for your marriage, We'll sell you to Aramatsi at the village entrance. We'll use the dowry money to get you a new set of bridal gifts. Listening to their curses, I thought my numb heart would remain unchanged. But it still ached just then. The front door was kicked open, and a deep, thunderous voice shouted, "I'll see who dares to sell my student." Chapter 4. With this reprimand, a group of people surged in, placing themselves between me and the village chief. The elderly man leading the group wore a Zhongshan suit, exuding authority without anger. My parents, furious, shouted, "Who the hell are you, old man, to interfere in our family's business?" But Alex stood frozen, staring at him, and blurted out, "Principal Song, what are you doing here?" I turned my head and saw the person who had once been kind enough to meet me, the principal of the National Defense University, Principal Song, who had made an exception to admit me. Everyone stared, wide-eyed in disbelief. Even my parents looked at him in confusion. "What principal?" Principal Song snorted and coldly glanced at them. "If I hadn't been passing through the county and decided to bring Ophelia to school, who knows what you all would have done to my student?" Alex, unable to hide his shock, looked at me and then at Principal Song. "How could she possibly be your student? She's just a simple village woman." Before he could finish, Principal Song interrupted him. "And who are you to question my decision?" Alex quickly put on a smile and approached, trying to salvage the situation. "I'm Alex, a student. I've had the honor of attending your lecture at Renmin University, and have admired you for a long time. I've even written a few books, and I was hoping for a chance to receive your guidance." A scholar, Principal Song scoffed. "I think you're far beneath Ophelia." Principal Song reprimanded him sharply, offering no mercy. "I overheard everything you just said. You've all twisted the truth and slandered a pure young woman. What are you trying to accomplish? Ophelia is the most talented student I've ever seen." I was puzzled when I found out she had taken the exam, but hadn't been admitted. After checking, I found the school had already sent the admission letter. "But it was you who tore it up and prevented her from going. How vile." A cold sweat broke out on Alex's forehead. "Principal, I didn't do it. I don't know anything about it. It has nothing to do with me." He even took a few steps back, distancing himself from my parents, trying to negate his earlier words. Principal Song didn't even spare him a glance. He turned to me and waved his hand. "Ophelia, come with me. It's time to report to school. You can just come with me. Don't worry about the admission letter. I'll make sure you get into university." I took a step forward, but my arm was yanked back. My parents were pulling me, shouting at the top of their lungs, "Even if you're a principal, so what does that mean? You can just take our daughter away. This girl is our daughter. What's wrong with her getting married and having children? How can we harm her?" Principal Song gave them a cold stare. "I didn't say anything because you're Ophelia's parents. You've been making things difficult for her, ruining her future. Do you even look like decent parents anymore?" He turned to Luciana. "And you're openly slandering your own sister and tearing up her admission letter. That admission letter was personally approved by me. It was an exceptional case. Now tell me, what shady dealings are you accusing me of having with her?" Luciana didn't dare to speak, shrinking back in fear. She only dared to run her mouth in front of ordinary people. But when she realized the admission letter was personally issued by the principal, she was too afraid to say anything. My father's face flushed red and he stubbornly said, "So what if it was approved by you? Marriage is every woman's ultimate goal. What's the use of education?" Principal Song looked at me, his tone softening. "Ophelia, tell me, do you want to get married or go to university?" I met his kind eyes and firmly replied, "I want to go to university. I don't want to marry, especially not to Alex, that playboy who flirts around. I want to make my own decisions about my life." "Good, Principal Song," exclaimed, his eyes full of energy. "We are leaving." I smiled and walked with Principal Song toward the crowd behind us. Alex caught up and reached for my hand. "Ophelia, we're getting married soon." I turned around without hesitation and slapped him across the face. "I told you, I won't marry you, Alex, we're breaking up." He covered his face, staring at me in disbelief. "You're crazy." I gave him a mocking smile. "No, I'm free now." Chapter 5. From now on you'll be free. If you don't want to interact with your family, or let them bother you, I can help with that too. Principal Song led me to a guest house and handed me a cup of tea. With a smile I exhaled softly, feeling a long-awaited sense of relief. "Thank you, Principal Song. You've already helped me so much. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have had a second chance to attend the National Defense University. Principal Song waved his hand dismissively. Recruiting talent for the country is my duty. I believe that once you finish your studies, you'll surprise me greatly. Since Principal Song still had some matters to attend to, I stayed in the guest house for 2 more days before proceeding with my original plan to report to school on time. The next day I was studying the materials Principal Song had given me when the door to the guest house was knocked. A group of people barged in, with my parents at the front, wearing sycophantic smiles, as if nothing had happened the day before. They crowded around me immediately asking eagerly, "Ophelia, we came specifically to visit Principal Song. Oh, we were so rude yesterday. He accepted you as a student, so your relationship must be great, right? Please introduce us to him." I looked at them expressionlessly, realizing that they had recognized Principal Song's position and were trying to use him to further their own interests. "Principal Song isn't here today. You should go back." "Not here, that's fine. We'll wait a bit." Without hesitation, my father immediately went to grab a chair to sit down. I scoffed. "Why don't you all play mahjong here while you wait? Wanda Ji, please show them out." Several of Principal Song's guards, who had been standing by the door, had originally let them in because of me, but now they decisively began ushering them out. My mother's brows furrowed in anger as she pointed at me and shouted, "You ungrateful little thing. We've raised you for so many years, and now that you've gotten close to someone powerful, you dare not recognize us anymore." I remained indifferent, watching them disappear outside the guest house. But just as one problem left, another one arrived. It wasn't long before Alex came to find me, looking as if he were giving in. If you didn't know better, you might think he was about to concede a city. "Ophelia, I agree for you to go to university, and I also agree to marry you. Is that good enough?" I looked at him in confusion. "Do I need your permission to go to university? But why should I agree to marry you?" Alex's face darkened. "Don't push your luck. Wasn't it because you wanted to go to university that we broke up? I've agreed to everything now. So what else do you want?" I rolled my eyes. "Alex, let me say it again. We've already broken up. I won't marry you. I absolutely won't." His face turned ashen, but somehow he suppressed his anger, took a deep breath, and pulled out 2 bottles of soda. "I specially bought your favorite peach-flavored soda to apologize. Drink a sip, calm down, and then we can talk. You'll definitely think it through." I stared at the peach soda in his hands, a chill running through me. In my past life, Luciana had drugged me, and the drug had been in peach soda. Alex, fearing I wouldn't drink it, even brought 2 bottles and was now offering me one to drink with him. I gave him a cold stare before casually taking one of the bottles. "Fine. There's a plate of snacks in the kitchen too. Why don't you bring that over as well?" He looked a bit frustrated, but turned to go to the kitchen as I twisted the cap off the bottle. By the time he returned, I had already switched the 2 bottles of soda, sipping from one here and there. Alex gave me a strange smile and took a few gulps from his bottle. "Ophelia, even if you don't submit today, you will eventually once you become my woman. You'll have to obediently marry me." He lunged forward to grab my hand, but the next moment, he swayed and collapsed onto the table. I gave him a cold glance for a few seconds before turning around and walking out. Just as I opened the door, Luciana stormed in with a large group of people. "Ophelia, how dare you claim to be pure? What were you doing alone in a room with a man in broad daylight?" Chapter 6. My father shouted loudly from the side, "You ungrateful daughter. Kneel down." I sneered coldly. "I'm standing here just fine. Do you all just make baseless accusations like this?" Luciana grinned smugly as if she had won, still not admitting it. "Someone saw Alex enter the guest house, and you closed the door. You 2 stayed inside for almost an hour. If that's not an affair, then what is it? You keep saying you want to break off the engagement with Alex, but in the end, you're still shamelessly seeking him out." Without hesitation, they rushed into the inner room, and when they saw Alex slumped on the table, they became even more confident. What can a man and woman alone in a room mean? "Ophelia, you're done for." I looked at her with a half smile. "People with dirty hearts see everything as dirty." She arrogantly laughed. "Are you still looking for excuses?" This time, before I could respond, a powerful voice entered the room. "Excuses? Ophelia has nothing to hide. It's that Alex who has ill intentions." Seeing the change in everyone's expressions, I couldn't help but curl my lips in a smile. Luciana and Alex thought they could trap me, but they had overlooked 2 things. 1. I knew in advance that there was a drug in the soda, so I had swapped the bottles too. There was Aunt Wong in the kitchen. After Alex took the mung bean pastries, she remembered I had told her I was allergic to mung beans, so she'd come to warn me. Sure enough, Aunt Wong had witnessed the entire scene, and now stormed out, holding a kitchen knife. I saw it all clearly. The man came in and said nonsense, claiming Ophelia was his woman, and tried to force her. If he hadn't suddenly slumped on the table, I would have gone in to beat him myself. Everyone gasped, and ambiguous gazes turned toward Luciana and her family. The commotion woke Alex up. He groggily opened his eyes, and when he saw the crowd, his face darkened. Ophelia, how dare you scheme against me? I walked over calmly and picked up the soda bottle from the table. Who's scheming against who here, Alex? What did you mean by giving me soda with a sleeping drug in it? Should I take it to get tested now? His face changed. He looked around, then immediately turned on Luciana. What sleeping drug? I don't know anything about that. It's all Luciana's doing. She gave me the soda. Luciana screamed. Alex, how dare you? Alex glared back at her. What do you mean? How dare I after all the dirty things you've done? What's one more? You've been suddenly flirting with me all along, asking me to meet in the small grove. When you were caught, you framed Ophelia. Do you think everyone else is an idiot? At this, the crowd erupted in shock. Before, Alex had tacitly accepted that he was having an affair with me in the small grove, but now he was suddenly shifting the blame. Luciana's facade had shattered completely. Now, everyone's contemptuous gaze was on her. The one who reacted most strongly was Calvin. He had been silent up until now, following Luciana around, but he didn't expect this to happen. As Luciana's partner, he was now the target of numerous glances from the crowd. Calvin turned pale and immediately confronted Luciana. Why did you betray me? He demanded. Luciana panicked, trying to break free from his grasp and flee. It's not true. Calvin, he's lying. You can't believe him. But her words had no power, and Calvin still stared at her with a dark expression. I secretly laughed in my heart. Calvin may seem easy to deceive, but his true nature was twisted. Luciana had made a big mistake, and she wasn't going to get away with it. On the other side, my parents were stunned. The situation had gotten out of their control, so they turned to me. My mother grabbed my wrist. Ophelia, it's all your fault that they're arguing now. Luciana's reputation will be ruined because of you. Say something. I pried her fingers off one by one and took a step back. That's the consequence of your own doing. You can't blame anyone else. Chapter 7. The farce dragged on for a long time, eventually turning into a mutual exchange of insults between Calvin and Luciana. Calvin, of course, held a grudge against Alex, but Alex was so used to flirting with other women that he didn't care at all about Calvin's anger. What started as a cheating scandal turned into family drama, and none of them had the face to continue arguing in front of outsiders. They quickly dispersed. I left with Principal Song, and we returned to the school. Although I was late for the registration, with the principal's help, I was granted special access and joined a new student class. I began catching up on the lessons I had missed, studying day and night. Life at school was fulfilling. I spent most of my time studying and attending classes, and my breaks were mostly spent in the library. Here, studying was the most normal and simplest thing to do. If there was any issue, the school had more than enough teachers to offer guidance and answers. Because of my connection with Principal Song, I still occasionally paid him visits. Not only was Principal Song an excellent educator and military politician, but his calligraphy and scholarly knowledge were also remarkable. A few months passed like this, and when the semester ended, as I stepped out of the school gate, I saw Alex waiting outside, looking like he had been there for quite some time. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. Ophelia, I finally found you. I've been waiting for you for so long. Are you cold? Come have some roasted sweet potatoes. He gazed at me warmly, but I wasn't buying it. I looked at him coldly. Alex, you'd be better off not appearing in front of me, or I'll be unable to resist wanting to hit you. His face froze for a moment, but he swallowed it down and forced a smile. Ophelia, I was too hasty before. I acted impulsively, and that's why I upset you. Please don't hold it against me. I genuinely want to repair our relationship. I tugged at the corner of my lips. Is that so? Then why are you here? Sure enough, he couldn't wait to say, I've just written a new book, and I'd like to ask Principal Song to write a calligraphy inscription for it. It'd be even better if I could meet him in person. So that's what this was about. I looked at his eager expression and no longer had my mockery. The new book must not be selling well. Or maybe it wasn't selling at all now. He thought asking Principal Song to endorse it would help with the sales. I won't help you. If you have the ability, go find Principal Song yourself. Alex eagerly grabbed my arm. Ophelia, just let me meet Principal Song, I swear. Before he could finish, I pushed him out. Alex, who gave you the illusion that, even after you've hurt me, I would forgive and help you with kindness. I smiled coldly at him. Keep dreaming. Chapter 8. I mercilessly kicked Alex out of the school. There were many people nearby at the time, and he covered his face as he scurried away, crawling and running. After that he never came to find me, and I enjoyed a period of peace and quiet, until my parents came to find me, crying and complaining about how hard their lives had become. Ophelia, why haven't you replied to any of our letters? We've been worried about you and we miss you at home. I remembered that they had sent me several letters, but I had thrown them all into the trash. I couldn't be bothered to go around in circles with them. I don't have time to waste with you. If you have something to say, just say it. My parents exchanged looks and after a while, they hesitantly spoke. Ophelia, could you lend us some money? The meat processing plant is in trouble, and it might not be able to continue running. Your sister is pregnant again, and she and Calvin are fighting every day. There's no peace in the house. If this continues, your sister's baby will be in danger, and we won't be able to save the plant either. I listened for a while and quickly understood. Luciana couldn't manage the factory at all. As a hands-off owner, she just spent the money on pleasures. Calvin had no choice but to clean up after her mess and barely kept the factory running. After Calvin discovered Luciana was cheating, he became increasingly controlling, always suspicious and paranoid. They had many arguments, and their focus was no longer on the factory. Meanwhile, Luciana, in order to maintain her lifestyle, didn't pay the workers their wages. Even though she had the money, the workers came knocking for their pay. When my parents realized something was wrong, they wanted to help immediately, but it was too late. The factory was in no condition to operate. Not only was it losing money, but it was on the verge of going bankrupt. But how was this my problem? Ophelia, you need to help your sister. If the plant shuts down, we'll all be starving. You as the older sister should help us out. Now that you're doing well, with enough money to tide us over, we can definitely pull through this crisis. I looked at them coldly, no emotion in my heart. If only they had thought of this earlier. I don't have any money, but I do know how to get a loan. Do you want me to help you with that? My parents forced a smile, but they were still relentless. Really, no money? But you have so many rich classmates. And you know Principal Song. Can't you borrow some money from them? I didn't answer. I turned and left. I settled down at school and never went back home again. The only time I did was when I received the news of Luciana's death. I returned to the village for her funeral, which was simple and unadorned. Calvin's former wealthy lifestyle as the owner of the meat plant was long gone. My parents had turned gray when tears streamed down their faces as they burned paper offerings for Luciana. Calvin was nowhere to be found. I asked around and learned that his relationship with Luciana had long been broken. He would often hit and scold her. And even after Luciana got pregnant, he doubted if the child was even his. When Luciana died from blood loss during childbirth, Calvin didn't hesitate for a second. He took the remaining money and ran away. Calvin's situation only got worse, and the meat plant was permanently closed. Ophelia, you're our only daughter. Who will take care of us when we grow old if you're not here? Looking into their desperate eyes, I regretfully said, I'm sorry, but I've already applied for a posting at the border, and I'll be leaving in a few days. I reported Calvin's actions to the authorities and left behind some funeral money. After leaving, I walked through the village, overhearing snippets of gossip from the villagers. To my surprise, I heard news about Alex. The once glamorous playboy had fallen into gambling. Again, he lost all his family's fortune at the casino. Because of his huge debts, the casino people beat him to the point of disability, and now he was lying in bed unable to move. People sighed and shook their heads, lamenting how someone who seemed to have it all had ruined themselves so completely. I kept walking, not stopping, leaving the past behind me.